everyone, this is Cassidy and Jenny. We're the interns this summer for the Tropical Gallery. We're going to take you on a quick tour of some of the animals that we think are really interesting that we have in the gallery.
Maybe.
And please wait as we figure out how PowerPoint works.
Why is this?
All right, there we go. Took a little while, but we got there. All right, so I'm sure a lot of you thought when we said tropical and you thought fish, you thought of Finding Nemo. We hear through the wall at least twice a day a little kid screaming Nemo or Dory. And we do actually have clownfish and blue tangs, so you would be correct in that assumption. They don't both live in the same place, but clownfish do actually live with real coral, which is one of the 2 tanks we have with real coral on display.
Maybe 3. I'm not sure. I don't remember the number. Yeah.
Fair enough.
So we also have mandarin fish in the live coral tank. There are 2 mandarin fish. It's very difficult to ever see them except for first thing in the morning when you're cleaning the windows. Mm-hmm. There's also mandarin fish over in the West Wing Gallery.
They're really pretty.
Yeah, they are really pretty. Something else really cool that we have is in the deep reef. We have pinecone fish, which are bioluminescent. It's kind of difficult to tell in person though. But everything in that tank lives in deep reefs, which is why it's called the deep reef tank. But it's really cool, even though it's very dark in that tank, to see, you can still see like their colors really well. They're all really, really pretty. Mm-hmm. And we do also have 2 Caribbean reef lobsters that you will hardly ever see. They're always hiding.
All right, so there are also a lot of tanks that we have that are not on display to the general public. One of the holding tanks we have is home to this extremely massive pufferfish, who we love, and we have an interesting relationship with him. So
this puffer
if it
has
works,
several nicknames also.
Yes, I personally call him Fatso. That's the one that I like to go with.
There's also Squirt and Joanne. I don't remember who started Joanne, but a lot of the Aquarius staff calls Puffer Joanne. So
let's
in
see
case
if we can get this video to work. So this is one of the habits that this puffer has. It will actually spit water when it's waiting for us to feed it because it's super impatient. And there you go.
Yeah. There was one time that I was around during a behind the scenes tour and the puffer actually spit on a small child because they were standing in front of the tank. Yeah, it was funny, but I also felt really bad for the child.
I probably would have laughed. Another fun thing that this puffer does is actually eats out of your hand. You have to be careful not to get your fingers bitten, but there he goes, slurping up silver sides like they're spaghetti.
And the bannerfish that you see right in front of the puffer will consistently try and eat whole shrimp and silver sides out of the puffer's mouth.
I want to see them do it one day.
It can't do it.
All right, so now we're going to talk about one of our favorite animals that we have, the cuttlefish. We have 2 different types of cuttlefish right now in the Tropical Gallery. On display, we have the common cuttlefish, but then behind the scenes, we also have dwarf cuttlefish. So this is one of those little cuties.
A lot of our daily tasks revolve around the cuttlefish. Probably I want to say in like May or June, they started mating, and now we have hundreds of little cuttlefish babies, and they're still laying eggs to this day. We've actually moved the females off exhibit so that they will stop mating. So the only ones that are on exhibit right now are the males.
So we're gonna sort of take you through the different stages of the cuttlefish. This would be a sort of overview using the dwarf cuttles. So you can see in the top corner there are some eggs that we took off out of the tank, and also a little tiny hatchling that hatched out of it. And then the next picture you see all the little hatchlings kind of clumped together, and then a juvenile near the bottom. And then all the way to the side you can see that is actually an adult dwarf cuttlefish. They're only about this big, but they're super cute. and with the exception of one of them, they're always super bumpy.
These are some of our common cuttlefish that are on exhibit. The biggest ones that we have right now, I think, are probably like 6 or 7 inches long. And that's just like the length of the cuttle bone. It's not like full length. But common cuttlefish will probably get about that size. It's kind of difficult to tell them apart, males and females.
There are a few ways, but the easiest way is just to watch and see which one attaches its face to the other.
They're not really surefire ways. One of them is size, but we have a female who got to pretty much the same size as several of the males that we have on exhibit. And they also, if you look at the outer 2 tentacles, they're more broad on the males, but the females can also puff them up and make them look more broad. So not really surefire ways, but once you see them laying eggs is also a good indicator.
A good way too. All right, so here's just a video of a cuttlefish eating. For those of you that haven't seen it, it's pretty neat. We usually feed these guys about 3 times a day, twice with silver sides and shrimp, and then once with grass shrimp. So he's going after the grass shrimp. So those were feeding tentacles that just shot out, and that's how they eat often. Another way they eat is by just taking all of their arms and kind of engulfing something, which is also pretty cool to see.
This is a prime example of what it looks like when cuttlefish meet. Often it happened when we were feeding. You offer a shrimp or silver side to one of them, and then I think it's typically the females that would eat, and then the males would kind of go after her, and it kind of looks like they were trying to take the shrimp, and then you realize when it's going on for a couple minutes, they're not really trying to take the shrimp. So
yeah. I thought he was eating her face the first time I saw it, which is not the case. So this is one of our lovely cuttlefish ladies, the big one in holding right now. And those are some of the eggs that she laid. That is barely a fraction.
Yeah.
She has been pumping out eggs by the 100.
She is very angry and always in that defensive position unless you're feeding her. When you feed her, she kind of calms down a little bit. But ever since we moved her off exhibit, I want to say like 3 weeks ago, and we've probably had at least 100 eggs a week that we've had to pull out of the tank because she's just laying so many eggs. And female cuttlefish, they'll keep laying eggs until, they die when they're done laying eggs. So once she's all out of eggs is when she will go. But the males, there's not really a set time frame. They just kind of senesce and then die.
They also die shortly after they reach sexual maturity.
So this is a video. I caught her one morning laying eggs. This is just a video. So what they do is they'll blow on the eggs, try and keep them aerated, and then go up and wrap all tentacles around, and then attach an egg to the grass. Or she's laid a lot of eggs on airline tubing as well for her air stone, which is actually very smart when you think about it, because then her eggs are getting consistently aerated. It's just not the best for getting eggs off.
Yeah.
But cuttlefish actually fill their eggs with ink so that they're more camouflaged from predators, which is pretty cool. And then once they develop more, once they get bigger, they get a little bit more transparent. You can actually see the cuttlefish inside.
So this is a picture of some of the eggs we had. This is maybe, I'd say a quarter, probably less, of the eggs that we collected. We had a couple different bins of those. And then this is just some of the baby common cuttlefish that we collected from off exhibit, and then also in holding once the females were moved. Okay, so if you're squeamish, I would turn away around now, because we're going to start looking at a cuttlefish necropsy that I was able to watch when one of our females died.
We've both been able to see, I've seen 2, I think.
Yeah, you saw dwarfs, right?
Yeah, I saw one dwarf, and then we had a broad club who she just wasn't very happy.
So yeah, this is just a picture of sort of the anatomy once you get into the actual necropsy and the dissection of it. So if you just take a look, you can come back to this if you want. We're going to see almost all these structures in the following pictures. So this is one of the common cuttlefish that was laying a lot of eggs earlier in the summer. When she finished, she passed away, and this was her necropsy. So you can see that they're removing the cuttle bone. The cuttle bone is actually what you use to measure how big the cuttlefish is. So once it was removed, they measured the length of her mantle, and wrote that down. This is just more stuff that's underneath the mantle, under the cuttle bone. To the one side in the picture that you can see the tweezers, those are right next to where her gills are. And then you can see a lot of the different glands that she has right around her head area. The weird white gooey stuff is actually eggs. So like Jenny said, when the eggs are actually laid, they put ink into them. So they don't really look quite the same as the ones you saw once they were hatched. And then in the other picture, you can see a couple of her hearts. They have 3 hearts, just like octopuses, which is pretty neat.
This is kind of like an overview shot of the Indo-Pacific reef tank. We are actually getting prepared. Monday we will be fishing everybody out. This tank is going through a huge renovation. I've seen pictures of what it's supposed to look like. It's supposed to look pretty cool. But yeah, we have a lot of different species. We have some barred flagtails. We have probably at least 10, maybe even 15 different kinds of surgeonfish. There are some anthias, some blue-green chromis, another stars and stripes puffer, like the one you saw at the very beginning. Roughly the same size, maybe a little bit smaller. Just overall a lot of really cool, really colorful fish.
So this is the end of the presentation. I hope that you enjoyed our little tour of our animals. And hopefully you guys will all get a chance to see all the renovations that are going to take place pretty soon.
It should look really cool when it's finished.
It should look really